Hi, hello. Welcome to the Choose on Purpose podcast, where we live with intention. I am your host, Becky Plautz, and today's episode is our strategy mastermind time. And we're talking all things limitless love in this episode. And looking at how we can use this as a framework and building on the discussion and sharing. So I have Brenda with me. Welcome, Brenda. Thanks for joining the show today.
Hello, thank you.
Looking forward to the conversation on limitless love with you. So briefly just sharing that the limitless love topic is our theme in the community and for this month, and really it's the idea of love as a boundless and ongoing source that really can fuel our passion, right? And our purpose, and really the personal connections that we have and that we cultivate and we choose to keep in our life, our businesses, all of those good things. So, right, this is really a conversation around how love and taking the limits off of that and having that ongoing support and perspective can really give us more capacity to grow and build more relationships from a place of love. So, looking at the framework of Limitless. And if you're new here, then you're going to learn that I love acronyms. I think they're a really easy way to build a framework and have discussion around a topic where we can dive deep into each section. So we're looking at Limitless as our framework, which is like, woo, it's a bit of a deep dive. So buckle up. Let's talk about the L, which is legacy. Okay. How do you view your legacy? And I have questions with each of these, and I'll share mine, and then I'll ask Brenda, who's in here with me, to share some insights around her thoughts around the idea as well, because this is more of that mastermind time, right? It's a conversation around the topic and the framework to see how we can deeper understand for ourselves what this can do for us. So, legacy, right? It's for me, it's really thinking about that long lasting impact and, thinking about actions or events that occur and like how that can impact through love. So, how does love come into play with what I do or the people that I impact, and how that shapes the vision that I have for the future? And I think about the fact that I highlight my clients and members through evergreen content. I have my Healthy Headspace blog and this podcast, right? This is an example of how I'm collaborating with other leaders to shine light, right, on the wisdom that they have and coming out with. This is the first time I think publicly share that working on a WOW series coming off of this podcast, which stands for, again, it's another acronym, Wisdom of Women series, which is really to highlight the wisdom in an authentic way in how we can share that more with you out in the world around the knowledge that we have and the way that we implement it into our life and businesses. So these are the ways that I know, forming content that is longer lasting than a social media post, right? This podcast is a long form version of bringing value to you that doesn't just disappear in a couple days. Right? It's here for you to consume on your time versus social media where it bypasses and you probably never see it again. So that's one of the ways that like I see and intentionally am showing up to look at legacy in a way of having impact in my actions that I feel it can really make a difference and that I hear from you that makes a difference. So right. Brenda, is there something that you'd like to share around how love for your purpose, your passion, how does that fuel the work that you want to leave here and in the hearts of the people that you impact?
Well, definitely I can relate to the legacy end of it. And looking at my own family, past generations, walking through what they have shared and acknowledging the value behind it.
Mm,
Maybe years ago when I was younger, I didn't recognize the value. Um, but now I can see that value a lot more than maybe even 5, 10, 20 years ago. So for myself, it's more generational
mm,
and impacting not just the young children that are here now, but that they have some tools to support their children and then their grandchildren.
yeah. I love that, like the perspective of um not specifically how you yourself might be intentionally leaving legacy, but also looking back at like how has legacy already been planted in you from past generations in your family. I love that reminder, right? Like acknowledging that and also, being grateful to recognize that that's a huge part of who we are today and already the legacy that we've been instilled that has been instilled already within us and what we're here to do now in this time. Love that. Um, and for me, I think, I'm thinking about so how love for my passion, right, of highlighting leaders to really be seen and heard. I really think about how it's me giving quality time. Like that's part of like a big part of my love language is the quality time. So getting to have these conversations, getting to deep dive into having a deeper connection with someone and having that quality time, the impact that that makes on in me and in the relationships that I choose to develop and keep in my life. I think about that a lot, how that's bringing limitless love and time is the one thing we can't get back. So, that being the core piece of like my love language, it's like, oh, that's definitely a piece that I want to remember to be mindful of my time in the way that I leave my legacy that makes me go, oh, that's why the long form content that we're doing right now is so something that I keep to the forefront because it is all taking time and when it's intentional and purposeful and really impactful, we want it to be quality, right? Versus spraying all the things out there on social media and just feeling like this is what needs to happen. So that legacy piece is huge. Okay, so that's the L. The I is inspiration, right? So thinking about like who or what really inspires us to really want to bring more love into what we are choosing to do in our work and our life, right? I'm focused on, I say leaders, and that's moms, CEOs, managers of organizations, right? It's really about people being seen and heard and really celebrated for the impact that they make in their everyday world. And I myself have felt, undervalued or underappreciated for the energy and the time that I've brought to companies or teams or, relationships throughout my life that I have a huge heart for wanting to, be a part of the solution for people to, for myself and for other people to really feel good about what we're giving and then because what I know is that when we do that, that ripple effect brings it that it's positivity that comes and moves from feeling that feeling of knowing that you make a difference, that you are a difference maker in the world. It really inspires me to want to keep supporting who I just call leaders. And a lot of times people in my world don't even call themselves leaders, but leading your house, leading your life. We are all leaders. And I think that that really just drives me to help people understand more about the impact that we make, even in our everyday things. I get really passionate and fired up about that. So, maybe let's talk about, Brenda, is there people or quotes or, experiences even that ignite that limitless love for like in your life that regards to like how it inspires you?
Well, I really feel that being in the children's sector, that I've learned so much from the young adults,
Mm,
the young young children, and much more so than I thought they needed me. And I can see that it's a win for both of us in a larger sense than, um, yes, I'm bringing something to the table for them, but they have so much to give us.
mm,
And if we just take that moment, that they're part of that legacy, that opportunity for us to grow, and then to be able to better serve them, but then also other leaders in the community, and really accentuating some of their talents sometimes really blossoms what our true talents are.
yeah. Children, they have a way of, they're very honest. They're very, a lot of times very clear about what they want, what they see, that directness in children, it's breathtaking and sometimes just really sets me back thinking about like my own kids. Just like, what? It's it's definitely a dynamic of my kids are my I say that they're my greatest teachers. Learning from them through you know the way that I see them, but then stepping back to just see like, wow, where did that come from? It's very
Yeah.
inspiring.
And if they don't feel heard, then who else am I having a relationship with or a business encounter with that they don't feel heard, or my
Mm,
team members or my
yeah.
customers, my clients, my guests, all of those things, am I giving them that same opportunity and giving them that option to say something, to make sure that their voice is something of value.
Yeah. That's definitely, what I picture for the love aspect of it is making sure that everyone, has that opportunity, like you said, to feel that, and experience it for themselves, especially kids. I think you're absolutely right, which is why I love that you're here to have this, you know, this conversation about limitless love and putting it through, a framework. It isn't one thing. I look at it through a leadership lens, and I love that you're coming from like the kids side of things, and those are the future leaders, right? Like they're the generation coming of leaders, and I think that's a really great, remembering of how they're so, and that brings me back to the wisdom of women. That was a conversation that has always been there, is like generally I would be the youngest person in a room and I would love the conversations from the dynamic of decades that are represented in any given Zoom room or in-person room. And I'm someone that wants to soak up all of the wisdom in the room and just like listen, like a kid at story time, Brenda. Like just let me just sit and listen and absorb it and hear the experiences and what's came from them. So I think it totally makes sense. And then okay, so let's move into the M because I was hearing some of this um in my head as we were discussing too, how mindfulness is one of those things with limitless love, those aspects that I think is so important to just really have time to reflect and give time and space for, right? Like journaling is a great approach for myself on the day's events and very intentionally even journaling about my feelings and what I'm celebrating and how I feel about what I did or didn't do. Or the way that I'm moving about my day, right? Maybe it is an interaction with my kids. Maybe it is with my husband, or the way that I represented myself at a meeting or something, right? But being mindful about, giving myself the attention to reflect on it has been a huge mindfulness piece for me to see the love for myself in the way that I'm showing up and, giving space to let it come to the surface so that I'm just more aware, I think, of how did I give myself love? And did I, example that to my team or my children, right? The people that I am leading in my life. Um, and the way that, I do that in a daily way. So maybe how do you stay mindful of that self-compassion and that self-love with some like practical self-love practices, right? Or moments that remind us of our self-worth. Is there anything for you, Brenda?
Well, definitely there's some ebbs and flows to that because sometimes I do it more frequently than others. And I have been able to acknowledge that I need some self-care. I need some myself time. Um, whether it's just quiet
Yes.
space in your own room, out to the spa and actually getting treatments completed, or simply having a meal or coffee or a walk by yourself. And there's many things that we can do that when we are fulfilled with completed with that task, we know we are 100% better than what we were before. And once we recognize that and what that is, we need to make that a priority when we notice those things. Myself, I have chimes and music that I play. I have meditation. I write in my gratitude journal. I read the Bible, and I'll also take the walk outside and ground myself without the dog or the husband or any other distractions that I have to be on this one path and stopping everywhere. So like, where's your favorite place to go? I love the river, the lakefront, um, the park where they're underutilized many times, and you're very much by yourself in that area, and those hidden gems in your own communities,
Mm.
and where are they, and go to those spots. I have a friend of mine that goes to the beach and looks for sea glass. So it's very unique to each of us.
Yeah, I love that too, because the I is intention, and that's right when we approach a goal with love, like how we set an intention differently when it is rooted in love. You know, it looks different than just I have to do something. And right, there's the difference between getting to do the things that we love and having to do the things that there's maybe very little love in. And I feel like it's more true to my purpose than it is expecting to do something as a leader of my house or company or team, right? It is that difference in getting to do the things and setting the intention of I'm choosing to do this, right? That's where the getting to do it versus having to, because it's the choice that I'm choosing.
Hmm. And sometimes it's just simply taking a deep breath, closing your eyes and taking two or three deep breaths. And that's all you needed to do to refresh and to be more present in whatever you were doing.
Yeah.
And it could be a distraction that you need to refocus, and that's all you needed.
Hmm. Yeah. So, Brenda, how have you used heart-centered intentions to maybe achieve your any personal or professional goals? Anything come to mind for heart-centered intentions?
Well, staying true to myself has been very big. My purpose, making sure that the value that I want to portray is still there, and that I'm still honoring what I would like to achieve in the integrity in relationships, um, acknowledgement of just that time and space sometimes makes a world of a difference. And then, when you're feeling good in your heart and you know that you're doing the right thing, um, not only for yourself, it's also going to be tenfold coming back to you. So the reap what you sow
Mm,
scenario is definitely something you should keep in mind. And, what does this reaction, how is this response going to come back to me?
hmm
And if I had somebody watching me as such as a child, and then they repeat it to me, am I okay with that, or are they going in a timeout?
Yeah.
So, and we have that in our teams, our leaders,
Hmm.
we have it in schools, our children. People are watching us just like we're watching other people, whether we're watching um, Zig Ziglar and how he worked through things, if we watch Les Brown or Mel Robbins, we're doing, we're looking to them. And if it doesn't align and they didn't do it with great, genuine intention, then is that something that we still want to acknowledge?
Yeah. Intention is huge. It's
Mhm.
maybe arguably the biggest piece, right, of everything that we're choosing to do because it is where it starts. It's the root, and love is an important part of that. Okay, the T is transformation and like thinking about how love transforms the way that we approach life and business is kind of the conversation we're having, right? The transformation is talking about approaching it with intention, being rooted in love and, bringing compassion where, meeting others where they're at or, thinking of the self-love practices and giving space to how we feel and taking those breaths like Brenda you're mentioning. And it's been an unlearning of sorts for me to not just say, oh, that was good or a good or a bad thing, but learning to give attention to really what I was feeling in my day and be available for accurately, what I need to be, approaching my life or business in the moment, in the day. That's been transformation. That has been transformation for me, is really looking at the way that I approach, going out and doing the day or doing the things. And so thinking about like the shift, right, of perspectives and what ways has love shifted perspectives or helped you overcome a challenge or even opened up a new possibility by being in that feeling of loving yourself in the moments, right? I think of that a lot and how that's really been a transformational piece for me. I mean, if you're watching the video, you can see this way. Love yourself fearlessly. Like that has been my photography slogan for as long as I can remember, like 10 years, right? Because I've been a photographer for over a decade. So I think it was probably like for 10 years now I've been saying love yourself fearlessly. And I think that's like the biggest transformation for me is just sitting with that and really getting the space for the attention of what am I feeling in the moment and how can I support myself in letting that move through, has been a huge part. So those shifts in love, have really helped overcome the challenges in the moment, which have definitely compounded over, the years of the challenges as I continue to support myself in the growth of this idea of limitless love.
I also feel like it changes. So there might be some adjustments, there might be some tweaks along the way.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're our greatest critic
Mhm.
and we think that it should look differently.
Right.
And it's exactly how it is supposed to be at that very moment. And it is how we respond to when we have a challenge brought forward and someone else will respond differently. And that's okay.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so the second L is leadership. In what ways do I lead from a place of love and really thinking about like how that has impacted the people around me is, communication, like working diligently on being a better communicator, like myself in a leadership role. I have really been focused on how can I be a better communicator and feel more prepared in the way that I want to communicate, in the things that I want to communicate, right? And give that feeling of support to the teams and my family and through that time and attention, to the details, so to say, it's really been a filter of love because I'm preparing to be more clear in that. So leadership is a huge part of the limitless love for me. And I just, as a perspective of feeling prepared and um, bringing clear communication, I think that that's a big part of it for me. So, do you have, Brenda, do you maybe have a story of how? love-based leadership, like that style has influenced your communities or your teams or your the people that you work
Absolutely. I feel like
with kids, I'm
when
sure
you,
love-based leadership is important.
yeah, but I also feel like when you can recognize someone else's talent and their leadership or their gift and put yours aside
Mm.
to grow them to what they may not see. And I think back of when I was at a job and my manager at the time had seen something different and then supported me in that transition,
Mm.
which put me into a business entrepreneurship path instead of an employee path.
Right.
And that was nothing more than him pouring into me of what he saw.
Mm.
And if I see that in my team, in my clients, in my guests, in any area, um, friends, family, colleagues, whatever, um, I feel like that is more of a leadership gift than to grow my own space and grow my own business. If I can feed into them and help them grow into what they may need another person that helped me years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that because it's about developing, again, it goes back to what we said at the beginning, like developing more leaders, more ownership of our lives. It helps everybody to bring that, give people the space to grow into who we see that they are. Because I don't clearly see who I am. I use, coaches, mentors, um, friends, people that I trust to share more about what they see. Their feedback matters to me, and I think that goes to the clarity piece that I was talking about. For me is like being a better communicator, but that involves listening to what people have to say about what they see in me and what I bring to a table that um, I want to do that more for other people, which is why I highlight people in the way that I do. And, giving them the space to fully step into that, I think you're absolutely right. That's more impactful. And that is definitely um like ongoing love to see beyond where someone's at right now and see the potential. Love that.
Especially when it might not move you forward in your own
Yeah.
space and acknowledging that and having that face that is going to be good no matter what.
Yeah.
And they're not competing, they're not taking your thunder per se. It is, there's room for all of us to succeed. And it's dismissing me right now who said this quote, but if you help enough other people succeed,
Hmm.
you will see success as well. And it's one of those areas where I think our society has gotten to the point where it's me, me, me.
Yeah.
And instead of us and helping others and growing as a unit or community or humanity.
Yeah. And that brings me to the E, which is empathy, Brenda. Like thinking about fostering a deeper empathy and understanding for others, it really is sharing the feelings, right? Asking more questions is what comes to mind for me and the way that I've been really practicing building my muscles for deeper understanding and having that empathy has been I practice asking more clarifying questions before jumping to my own conclusions about what someone else said or what I thought they said, right? Hearing people and listening can be very different. So, for me, the understanding piece and looking at empathy as a strategy piece to this is, asking more questions before just forming my own stories and letting that be what it is. That's a deeper way of connecting with clients and family, coworkers, like whoever, the relationships and approaching it in that empathetic way.
And ultimately, you receive something with that as well. You receive sometimes more when you can relate and empathize with others walking through things. And when
Yeah.
you see their growth and maybe them coming out of their shell of stepping out of something that was scary for them, then you know what that was like. You can relate. It's something
Mm,
now you have been able to walk through with them. And it's always easier when we've gone through the same experience or had something completely relatable. But then some of the things that we witness may be something that we need to learn so that we're not making the same mistake in 5, 10 years.
yeah.
And it's a tool in the toolbox.
Hmm. Oh, opportunities everywhere. Opportunities, opportunities. Yeah. And I think about you know, doing that more of the selfless side of things. It's like service, which is the S. We're closing out here with an S. There's two S's, but the first S is service. And thinking about love with service, it's like it's the work that we're inspired to do to come out, on a greater level of sharing the depths of the love that we bring, right? And how we give space to, that impact or that growth that we were talking about, that people don't always see that in themselves, and giving them the ability to strengthen it through the way that we can serve someone is so loving. I think about mentorships and coaches and communities and just friends that have, shared things with me that they were serving me by being real with me about things and giving me their feedback. I view that definitely as a form of showing love when we can be real, and the way that we serve can be strengthened from those truths and the feedback, whether it is through mentorship or the way that we give back in our community or supporting our clients. It love fuels the desire to serve. And the second S is strength. I'll just tie that in there because I think I already said it actually. So service and strength are the S's for limitless. And you know, how has love really given you strength to persevere in your journey and the things that you're doing to, impact your world? Can you reflect on how love has been a source of resilience and courage for you that's built strength in, like, on your journey in the way that you serve?
Absolutely. And having um, service part of our legacy plan is a should
Mm.
be a big piece of the puzzle. And we have strength from different sources, whether it's the nutrients that we put into our body, to the faith that we get, um, if it's through meditation or through biblical response, if it's from other leaders or coaches or the friends and family, like you shared. There's so much that we may not think we're doing a whole lot, but then to someone else, we are that strong rock that they needed. And it just might be giving them an hour of our time. And that's enough service for them to build up whatever they need to fill their cup.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. As we're closing out with our reflections here, like I'll reiterate this framework. Um, it's interesting when doing like writing out the podcast flow and coming out with the acronym for these conversations to have some flow and some, stories ready to go for the content. It's always interesting and exciting how it really comes together and it feels like, yes, that was it when I can't fully see all the things, especially will there be someone here to have a conversation with? And, will it flow? Will it make sense? Like all of these things. So, anyways, the Limitless acronym is legacy, inspiration, mindfulness, intention, transformation, leadership, empathy, service, and strength. And right, just seeing this again, like full circle, it's a transformative force to really recognize this as a way that I can and you can use this as a guide, for the greater impact that you are making on your day-to-day life and in your personal growth journey, right? My encouragement is for you to carry the energy of limitless love through your work, through your relationships, and through your self-care and the way that you are showing up in living with intention. And I would love to hear your feedback on the acronym as you listen to this. I would love to encourage you to share this with someone that, needs that reminder to fill their cup, this limitless framework for themselves and for the people that they lead in their family, in their business, right? In the communities. These are great reminders of this framework to just check in with yourself and say, you know, what can you glean from this and what could support you in moving through the month to remember that love is limitless. Like it is ongoing. You can choose to have a deeper love for yourself in the way that you're impacting. And my encouragement is to share this with someone that could use that reminder as well. And Brenda, I want to thank you for the conversation, the engagement in the questions, and sharing your perspectives around limitless love and each pieces of this framework put together. So thank you for being here and choosing to share on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And reminder is to love yourself, live fearlessly, and do all things with purpose. Thank you for tuning in to the Choose on Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Becky Plautz. Until next time, see you then.